ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to Bags and Bottles. My name is Philip Placencia, my beautiful co-host and wife, Soleil. We just want to share with you, man. We've got a vision. We've got something that God's placed in our heart, and we want to be able to help some people out. And so, Bags and Bottles is our podcast that promotes sober living. We're going to talk about. We have so many guests lined up. We've got, I think, 3 months out of guests that have already committed to this thing just because...
and people just keep coming and coming and coming.
We're getting messages every week, hey, I'd love to be a guest on your show. You guys are doing great things. And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to help people out with promoting sober living, overcoming addiction, alcoholism, and talking about recovery, and people just sharing their stories and whatnot. So... our vision here with Bags and Bottles is to create a space for anyone and everyone that may be battling alcoholism and or addiction. By offering solutions and resources to overcome this disease, we promote sober living as normal living. Again, our mission statement is to use this platform and to dedicate it to shedding light on the complexities of addiction and the transformation of power of recovery. We offer a space for real stories, honest conversations, and practical advice, creating a resource for those in recovery, for those seeking it to feel seen, heard, and supported. So by sharing diverse experiences and expert perspectives, we strive to inspire hope, break stigma, and empower individuals to take the first step toward everlasting sobriety. Okay? And so, you want to piggyback off anything? You got anything else you want to share as far as the vision and the mission?
No.
Okay.
Not right now.
All right. Well, hey, check it out.
I'll get in there.
This is, I would say, officially our first podcast.
No.
We've got one in the vault that we shot.
You have to know that you're important too. He was the first one.
Amen.
And his story is pretty. It's pretty
I would love to
great.
see that one too.
And
Don't keep it in the vault.
The thing about that one was, we went in, we did the questions. We kind of felt how the guests would feel answering them, and it was super raw. Like it got emotional. Open discussion got a little deep.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Yeah, real is good.
Yeah, it was definitely real.
Yeah, it was real. So like our my good
And
friend.
he feels like it's not the first one. And I'm like, it was the first one.
This is the real, I guess. Schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Antonio didn't come last time.
Oh.
So shout out to my videographer who edits and shoots all these for us, Ben Myers. He could tell you, that even he was like, wow. He was blown back. He's like, I was not expecting this type of podcast. I wasn't expecting this kind of material, and was just blown away and was asking all kinds of questions. That's what we want, man. We want to be able to create awareness for things that people struggle with. And so, anyway, back to the lecture at hand. I'm excited, man, because first of all, Antonio Pena as a buddy of mine, I'm a huge fan of this guy. Way, way, way back when I was a young man, I used to be a chef. I used to be an aspiring chef, if you even want to call that. So I have a huge respect and for the culinary arts, and this guy, hands down, is my favorite chef in Lubbock. He creates amazing experiences for people. But he's a good buddy of mine too, man, and he's a mentor, and he's been through some stuff, and he's been gracious enough to come on today and share his story, and I'm just excited to get into it. So, Antonio, go ahead and introduce yourself, brother.
Well, my name is Antonio Pena, and Lubbock native for 25 years now, half my life. I am a father of 3 beautiful daughters, and I have a wife as well, and just doing our best to live life one day at a time, with honesty. Yeah, she'll tell you, poor thing. It's funny how addiction is just not one person. It involves everybody in the household and loved ones that care about you. It's like they're all with you through the mess and through the recovery. So I mean that's pretty much it. I mean now it's just about maintaining my life one day at a time, as honest as possible, and really like Philip said, just to try to help along the way, because as humans now, and at my point in my life, that's what I believe in is, a little advice to help somebody along the way, is what it's all about for me, pretty much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Ms. Soleil, you want to just jump right into it?
Yeah.
So I guess just kind of, we'll talk about it.
So we built our questions off of sobriety, recovery, active addiction. So we'll kind of just, I don't know if I'll go through all of them, because sometimes it kind of piggybacks off one of them.
Sure.
But so the first question is, can you describe the moment when you first realized you had an addiction or were an alcoholic? What did that moment feel like for you?
Well, I was a slave, is the way I like to put it. I was a slave to my addiction and to my drinking. And for me, it was a vice of cocaine and alcohol. For me, they go hand in hand. If I knew I was going to go buy, and I drink bottles. I mean, I wasn't drinking beer. I was drinking bottles of straight alcohol.
Yeah.
And I'm not glorifying this by any means. I promise. This was a very sickening disease that I have. When you wake up at 3 a.m, and then like every 3 hours or 2 hours after that, just because you can't go to sleep, because you have the shakes. When I wake up in the morning to go to work, I would drink a pint, brush my teeth, and I would try to make it till 11:30, 12 o'clock, so I could go drink another one between work. Sometimes I wouldn't make it, and when I did, when I jump in the car, it's funny how your body does not want the alcohol in it, but you still need it. So, I mean, there were times, and this is gross, and I don't know how the hell I managed to do this, but I would throw it up in my mouth, and I'm like, don't you freaking dare throw that up. Drink it.
Wow.
And I would swallow it back down.
Because you didn't want to lose that alcohol.
Because I didn't want to lose the alcohol.
Yeah.
And then the shakes immediately went away, and I'd go into work, and I thought that was fine. I thought this is normal. This is okay. Now I'm good now.
Right.
I took my medicine.
Yeah.
In your experience, how does alcoholism or addiction change a person's sense of identity?
Oh, shoot. Like you live for me, I lived for the drug. It wasn't, I didn't live for myself. I was let me put it, I was just selfish. I was a selfish human being, and I ran over everybody and everything that stood in the way. Physically, emotionally, I don't know how I still have my wife in my life, because I put her through so much shit. Excuse my French, but it was awful. Yeah. And just little things that I thought I was getting away with, like I'd drop her off at the store. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to drop you off up front, trying to be a gentleman, right? And then as soon as she got off, I would go to the nearest liquor store before she came out, load it up in the trunk, and I'd have bottles in the trunk that she didn't know about.
Well, she thought you were outside.
Well, yeah, but she knew. I thought she didn't know, but she knew what I was doing.
I think they always know.
They always know, and it's a crazy addiction. And that's how much of a slave I was to it, because I just I lived and breathed for alcohol. Nothing else mattered to me. I could lose my job. I don't care. As long as I had alcohol, I was going to be okay. Sad, pretty sad story.
That's those things, man, where it's like, I've never just drank a beer. I've never just had a drink of whiskey. Like, I got to go all in.
Yeah.
I'm not. If I have a 12-pack, that 12-pack's going to be gone before I go to bed.
Yeah.
If I have a pint of whiskey or whatever, I'm not just going to take a couple drinks out of that. That thing's got to be gone.
I would go to the liquor store and I would stare, like, at the bottles, because I knew, like, if I got, and then they price them so good where you're like, man, I got to get the big one because it's only $31.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would look and I'd be like, okay, well, we would have that for 3 weekends if it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look at it and I'm like, he'll drink that whole thing if I take that big one home.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I get the smallest little Maker's Mark and take it home.
Yeah.
And it would still be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
again,
that was
something I wanted to piggyback off what you were saying. When you're dealing with this disease, you're so narrow-minded. All you're thinking about is how to get that next drink,
Mm-hmm.
how to get that next high, whatever that high is for you.
Yep.
You're not thinking about the repercussions and your inner circle and how that affects everybody, man. And it's just being sober. You now, like that first and foremost, that's your first thought. Like, how's this decision going to affect my life? How's this decision going to affect my family, my career, my job? And so it can lead to so much destruction, man. And it's just you're right. You're a slave to it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
How did alcoholism or addiction impact your relationships with family, friends, and colleagues?
Well, I thought of myself, and this is when I recovered, took the most out of me, physically and mentally, was I thought I was a piece of shit. Like I was pretty good about masking who I was, and if you said anything that I didn't like, I would just defensively react because of my immaturity and because of my addiction. So anything I said was just to backlash and get you away from me. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't trying to work through anything because I had no coping skills. I didn't want to have any.
Yeah.
So I hurt. The good thing is I'm going on 9.5 years now.
Nice.
My oldest one saw a lot of it, and she took a picture that haunts me to this day when I was in the hospital, about to die, because that's how serious it was for me, and that they couldn't get my levels right, my liver and my enzymes and everything else. I was just done. I don't know, through the grace of God I made it through, but all of that hurting her, and I've done my best to make amends. And for me, and I read this in a book, it's not by apologizing to these people. That's not going to get me anywhere, because in my addiction I did it every day. Well, I'm not going to drink anymore. This is my last one.
Yeah.
They've heard it before, over and over again. So I've learned, and I preach this all the time, is change behavior. That's the only way that that they will see. And then if you clean your side of the street, I mean, that's all that matters, because I don't want to carry around all the baggage anymore. Yeah. And before I did, and then I'd put some on your shoulders too when I'd walk off. You know, and that's those resentments it's the number one killer for anybody in addiction, or well, it is for me. Is if I hold on to anything long enough, it's going to fester. And even if it's a little thing, as an addict, I'm going to make it into something really big, because that's what I do in my head, and it's going to take over everything else. You know, I won't see straight. And I always talk about this to my guys, is like, don't walk in the fog, man. If you've got something that's really bothering you or that's hurting you emotionally, talk about it to somebody, because the rest of the day is just cloudy. You know, you're walking around with just like this with blinders, and you can't see straight anymore, you know. So I hurt a lot of people, you know, and the only way I made it better was because I'd see my mom, and that's one thing that hurt the most. Is I'll tell a little story and then I'll move on from this. When my sister passed away, addiction runs in our family. She was addicted to prescription medication, and so please forgive me, Mom, if I said too much about this. But anyway, I think it's important to share this. She just couldn't stop taking medications, but she suffered through a lot. And pain medications is a totally different animal. But she couldn't stop, and she ended up passing away. There was other health issues, but that was the core. That was the core. So when I found out she had died, I had actually been sober 2 years. And before when I heard she had passed, I was like, I'm going to go get drunk. Fuck it. You know? And because I wanted to. Yeah. Not because she died. Because I was like,
I don't want to feel this.
I don't want to feel this. I just want to go get drunk.
Yeah.
You know? So by the time I waited till we got to like Kerrville, I think it was Kerrville, and I got off the highway and went to a little liquor store on the corner and got me the biggest bottle of Jack I could find. And by the time I got to South Texas, which is 6 hours away, I had drank the bottle. Goodness. And was looking for my other vice. And my brother took me straight to the store. And this is where I'm going with this story, because when I saw the look on my mom's face and the way she was shaking her head at me, it was not good. It was sad. It was.
Ripped your heart out.
It ripped my heart out. But you know what I did? I continued to fucking drink.
Yeah.
And I didn't stop. Yeah. The day of her funeral, I don't remember anything. I was just out of it. Yeah. I was right back. And that's the thing that that I've read about it, but till it happened to me, I was 10 times worse than I was before. I picked up right where I left off, even after 2 years.
Yeah.
I was right back in the fucking shit. Excuse
Yeah.
my French, but all the way in it.
Yeah.
You know,
Like as if you never stopped.
like if I had never stopped, it was crazy. I was right back in it.
I think that's how easy it is to slip back in. That's the scary part.
Yeah, it scares the hell out of you. It scares the hell out of me, for sure. Like, you know, her and I were just talking this morning. She's asking me how I'm doing as far as like temptations or, you know, taking a drink or anything like that. And it's not there. It's not there. But what is there is the fear. If I do take a drink, I just know like chaos is going to happen after that. You know, just because I'm that guy. Like I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict, and I don't half step. Like I go full force.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so if knowing just like you're like, I didn't stop. I kept drinking, and that's what I'll do. I'll live with my shame and my guilt, and I'll just try to drink that shit away, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
So this is the last question about addiction. What do you think is the most common misunderstanding people have about alcoholism or addiction?
The grasp that it can hold you in, how easy it is to get lost in it if you don't cope mentally with your issues, and I think that stems a lot because I had to. The way I got sober was, no matter what, 3 meetings a week, maybe 4 meetings a week, no matter what, for 5 years. I did it straight, and I took it seriously. I'm like, I have to go. And a lot of people, this is a crazy story. I'm a hardcore Catholic, but I remember when I was going in and out, and I was on some heavy medication. They were trying to keep my body stable. I saw the devil, man, in one of these visions I was having of in and out of the state I was in, and he said, "Come on, let's go. It's time to go." And I was crying my eyes out, and I said, "I'm not ready."
Yeah.
And I don't want to go. I'm not ready. And I was crying to God and Jesus. I was like, "Please just give me one shot. Give me one more opportunity, and I'll never do it again." And that's what I'm doing with my life now. And I still take it seriously to this day.
Yeah.
I'm like, if he gave me the opportunity to live again, I can't throw it away.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I think that's amazing, man, and I just commend you because one, a lot of people don't get that opportunity, and two, when people do get that opportunity, they don't run with it. You know, so for you to be able to carry that on, man, 8.5 years?
9.5.
9.5 years.
On June 22nd will be 10 years.
It's amazing, bro. Good job. Yeah, keep
And
going.
we talked about this when we were sitting when we first started talking about this. I remember going to the meetings and sitting there when I first started, and the guy said 9. I got 8 years. I got 9.5 years. It's like bullshit.
Yeah.
He's drinking. He's full of shit. You know, because
and they say
my
that's
ego.
a battle on its own when
Yeah.
you're by yourself. Like you're like, nobody will know I'm taking a drink.
Yep.
Nobody will know. So they say that you're fighting a war in your own mind.
Yep.
I guess the discipline that
Yeah.
comes with staying
Oh
sober.
yeah, it's hard. I talked about this too. One day I was driving to Amarillo, and I was making this trip 3-4 times a week, and there's a little store outside of one of the little towns, and I was like, if I stop here, nobody will know. I can drink a quick tall boy,
Yeah.
and be done because of the anxiety I was having, because of me not being able to cope with the problems I have, and that using that as that's how I get rid of it. I remember I would use drinking alcohol as my excuse for everything. I'm going through a big city. I'm gonna be paranoid, babe. I can't function. I got to stop and get me a beer, and I could drive through the city pretty easy. But little did I know that all that alcohol I had been drinking and all the drugs the dopamines and everything had already fucked up my mind. Like I was not, I couldn't cope with anything.
Yeah, that's just prime alcoholic behavior.
Yeah.
You know, and mentality. The mindset is just like I gotta feed my disease.
Yeah.
And so you make it sound like it's just part of your day, and you make it sound justifiable. You know, because in your mind it's justified. So you want to. So for instance,
I'm mad.
for instance, for me, it's like I'm trying to get you to understand my facade,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And I don't.
And then you're like, oh, okay. Well, before, yeah, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Let's get you a drink, or let's get you,
It's
you
been a
know,
long
a whiskey. Yeah. When I'm like, oh yes, she fell into my little trap.
Yep.
You know, that's just the way it works,
Yeah.
man.
Pretty bad.
So
Yeah,
he got me.
got you a few times, but thank God you're still here.
Yeah, but honestly, sometimes I bet you knew. You knew deep down inside, because I know my girl did too.
I did, but I would get. I knew that if I brought it up, it would start
Yeah.
a battle zone.
Yeah.
So I think I knew that he didn't want to feel nothing. A lot of times because I'd be like, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." When I'm not okay, so I'm like, I know you're not okay, but he's coping with it different than I am.
Yeah.
I'm more of I like to get ahead of stuff. I like to talk about things and let's figure out a plan. He was more of I'm just gonna tuck it back,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it would become a big. So I think one of the biggest things that happens to wives or spouses is like when you're married or you're with someone that's an addict or an alcoholic, that clarity isn't there. So you can't depend on these people.
Yeah.
And that is that's what sucks. Because like I can't hold the shit together all the time. Our wives can't hold it together 100%. Like we got hard days too, but we don't turn to. I can't sit there and just be drunk all day. I got shit to do. I got kids.
Yeah.
I got a house. I got bills. So when I see my husband, like he's drinking the problems away, it's like, how come you get to do that?
And it
I
creates
don't?
resentment.
And then it creates resentment. And then
Yeah.
there's a wedge. So
Mhm.
like there's a lot of times where I'd be like, you're so powerful when you're sober. Like you can help me like bust through these walls
Yeah.
because I can't do it by myself.
Yeah, it's funny how we don't live for ourselves anymore. We live for the way we should, like for our loved ones, and because before I didn't do anything for my wife. I mean, if I did, it was because for selfish reasons, you know. And now it's like everything's for her, everything's for the family.
Yeah.
But then you can feel that love and reciprocating
Yeah.
back,
Yeah.
like even
Yeah.
just through the small things.
Amen. And it's crazy how I it doesn't matter how long I'm sober, I will continue to make it right because I did a lot of wrong.
Yeah.
I did a lot of wrong. And the only way I can do that, like I said before, is change behavior and then really just show up and let them know that no matter what, they can count on me.
Right.
Because before, no,
Yeah.
I was in bed all day. The next day, I was in bed
Worthless.
for 2 to 3 days sometimes.
Just worthless.
Yeah, and go get me another bottle. I'll be better after this.
Yeah.
I'll feel better, I promise.
Yeah.
You know, it's sad.
And that's the worst feeling as a spouse. Like you're worthless. Like
Yeah.
you're worthless.
I know.
And then he'd get up and like get our daughter's lunch together, and he's like, "Okay, I did what I needed to do," and I'm like, "That's it." Like,
Yeah, I think about that too, because I think that the hardest a woman can you imagine a woman with a family and addiction? I think
Yeah.
I had it bad. I think
Yeah.
because women are built different and their responsibilities as a mother, and so I mean you guys are just, that's what you look for, you know. And I think if I've met some people in the meetings, and I'm just like, whatever you need, we're here to help you.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine. I think I had it bad, and that's one thing that helped me out a lot. Is going to these meetings and listening to the other stories.
so many different stories.
Yeah, and I'm like, if that guy can make it, and he's walking through Vietnam with his freaking guts out of his fucking chest,
Yeah.
you know, and then.
Right.
My story's not so bad. I can sober. If he can sober up, I can sober up.
Right.
You know, so I look for people like that as my mentors and as people that I would go to for advice, because I'm
Yeah.
like, if he's working it, I can work it.
Right.
You know.
So, I have a question about recovery. What was the hardest part of entering recovery for you?
Oh man, that's a big one.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a big one. Knowing that I had to commit to staying sober, you know. I was okay. So I don't know if you guys would know where this place is at, but it's in Covenant. It's across the street from the hospital, and they have a detox center there. Okay, so that's where I went to detox, and I was, like I said before, it was so bad that they're like, I was there a week, and he goes, he's not going to make it. You guys got to take him back to the hospital.
Wow.
So I went back to the hospital, and I was in there for a couple of weeks, and then they sent me back. And like I said, all of it was a daze. I don't remember the first 3 weeks. I keep asking my wife questions. I'm like, well, what happened there, and how did this? My brother and my mom ended up coming from South Texas to say their goodbyes. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
You were on your way.
I was on my way out, and
how
Dude,
old
that
were
gives
you?
me chills, man.
I was 40.
We
Yeah.
go ahead. And I'll share a
No,
story.
go ahead.
We just read a story on the way up here.
Yeah.
A man was 36 years old. A wife put it out there. What was it, Facebook?
Mhm.
You know, hey, I want to talk about my husband. Blah blah blah. She talked about how he got introduced to alcohol, how he was such a great husband, but he. Make a long story short, through he died in recovery. He was 36 years old.
Wow.
And it's just
There's so many
there's so many
stories out like that.
stories of men and women that wait too long.
Hmm.
And bro, you were right there, man.
Yeah.
That's insane. Dude.
Yeah. And that's what scares me the most is, I was like, I could have been dead.
Yeah.
What
See, the
about my
thing,
family?
Like, we just
Yeah.
learned, like, you can actually die in going through
Detox.
detox.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Mine was pretty serious.
And then now that we're going through, like, our own, well, not me, but our own
Journey.
chapter, we're learning, like, that it could have been so much worse. Like, you
Yeah.
can literally die not feeding your body alcohol.
Yeah. Well, it's a
Yeah.
blessing. You guys are blessed.
Oh
know?
yeah. Huge man.
Yeah, it's a true blessing. Well, and I was saying, well, once I got sober and I went back, they were holding an AA meeting 3 times a week in that back room. And
At the
at
detox
the
center?
detox
Okay,
center.
yeah.
And I never went once.
Yeah.
I was focusing on other things, but I knew they were having a meeting. I was like, I'm not ready for one yet. But I remember the last day before I left, they were like, hey, a meeting. I was like, all right, let's go. I went back there and I sat down, and that became my home meeting. That's where I went for 5 years.
Changed your life.
Before you
Yeah.
entered that first meeting, what was your mindset? What was your thought process or your misconception of going to a meeting?
Well, I'd been to some before, but it's hard. The hard part for me was finding my meeting.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of meetings in town,
Yeah.
but like after COVID, we closed it down. That they wouldn't allow us in the hospital anymore.
Yeah.
So we gave all the money to the rest of the two other AA meetings and just split it up and said we're done.
Okay.
And I tried to go to different meetings. Just wasn't
Different structure, different vibes,
different vibes.
different
So do
settings.
you
Yeah.
just kind of feel like,
You gotta feel it. You gotta feel it.
Yeah.
and that's every,
And not to
mostly
take
every
away from the
individual?
meetings,
Yeah.
but at first I walked in with the wall. Boom. That's my meeting. Let's see what I can. You got to be. I had to be. I know. I have to be honest with myself and say it doesn't matter where you go. You're going to get something. But I had already been 5 years in, so I see a lot of
Yeah.
things differently
Yeah.
when it goes to meeting. And that became my favorite meeting because I remember looking up and there was a sticker on the wall and it says, I love New Hope. And I said, well, that's what I'm going to have to. I got hope for my life, man. This is, and that was the name of the group, New Hope.
You know,
Yeah, and it's been my favorite ever since. I still preach about it. I still talk about it, and it still keeps me sober to this day because I don't forget those meetings. Like we
Yeah.
had birthday parties on the,
Yeah.
where we had pizza day. We had sometimes we was just 3 of us in there.
that was your extended family.
That was my family. They got me sober.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That is really cool.
Okay. How important is it to have a support system during recovery? And what did that look like for you?
For me, it was the meetings for sure, because everything at home was still toxic. I hadn't made any amends. I can't fix anybody. I got to fix myself
Yeah.
first. So it went from being selfish in alcohol to being selfish in recovery. And doing whatever it had to take, like I did in my alcoholism, to make sure that I was going to stay sober. So I know that sometimes the wife's like, well, shit, I wish you were at home. But I'm like, no, I'm going to a meeting. I got to go to a meeting. I have to go to this meeting. And sometimes helping people. But But it was just a very it's like they say, it's a selfish program till the day you die. But for me, it's gotten easier now to where I can help people. Because, first there was that pink cloud that they talk about, and I'm like, I'm sober, yeah, woo, I've been sober 90 days. I got this shit licked. But when real problems hit, when I hit a wall, I was like, I was not on that cloud anymore. And I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to deal with this? Because before, my first thing was, orale, this is how I'm going to take care of it.
Now I have to feel this.
And now I have to feel this and work it out like an adult. And I learned so much about myself of pushing people away, and because I had to work it. And you got to want this, man. If you don't want it, you're never going to get sober.
Yeah.
You're going to end up dying. You got to want it more than you want anything else, because everything else will fall into place if you just do the right thing, and that's what I've come to understand is as long as, and I still practice it every morning. It's become a habit of mine. The first words that come out of my mouth in less than 3 seconds after I have opened my eyes is, thank you, God, for another day. And if I start my day that way, I'm going to be okay. Yep. If I get up and just run around and forget that I'm not in control, because if I'm in control, I'm pretty good about fucking some shit up. I'm good at it. But if I let God take over and walk in grace, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
How did you deal with triggers and cravings, especially in the early stages of sobriety? Did they hit you a lot?
They did, but I was scared to death.
Yeah.
I was so scared because they tried to put me on some medication, man, and I was a zombie. Like, they put me on the strongest, I guess this was the strongest damn medication that they could give anybody, because my will was gone. I didn't want to do anything. Ambition, like I was just a zombie. Mm. And I went to my girl, I'm like, if this is recovery, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. I said, I don't feel good.
You start feeling those emotions and everything.
Yeah, and it was crazy. So that's where I picked up. I was like, I'm going to get off of it, but I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to try something different.
Different bar.
Different bar. And it's worked out for me. Because I was just big and sluggish. I looked like Slimer from the Ghostbusters. With the little arms and just body. And that has become we're addicts. So you understand that, as an addict, you need to pick up another vice and run with it, but it's got to be healthy. It's still got to be emotionally healthy for me and the family. So I go when I can now. Before, I went every day, like clockwork, sometimes twice a day. And it's mentally, it's good. The dopamine kicks in, all those feelings. It's almost the same feelings, but in a different atmosphere. So I've learned and there's a lot of clarity for me. That's like my time. Like, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour, let me focus on myself and find my center, and then I'll be okay throughout the day. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Therapy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very therapeutic.
What has been the most rewarding part of living a sober life?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. My daughter's getting married. Yeah, on the 1st of next month, and I'm here.
Yeah, man.
I never thought I'd see that day. And just how the family life comes together, and I'm very grateful for what I have. And it's just the peace that I feel because of my sobriety is something that I wouldn't trade for anything in this world. Yeah. I wouldn't give it away.
Yeah, I get that. There was it last week? Cammy was she was doing something, and he was starting to feel tired, and I was like, the kids don't do the biggest things, but they do the smallest things, and you're like, I wouldn't want to miss that for anything.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be buying a suit. And then to see my other daughters getting dresses, and just what life is really about, and getting to just step back and see all of it, unfold, and say this is. And I still think about it. I was like, I wouldn't have been here to watch this, and what would I have left them with, How would they be mentally and physically because of my fucking addiction. You know, what would I have left for them? You know, and that just makes me feel this big. You know?
God's grace is amazing, man.
Yeah.
And it's all. What also is amazing is your girls, your wife. Even though you've been through what you've been through, you're still their fucking hero.
I would hope so.
And you don't deserve that, dude.
No.
You're like, oh my God, like, man, how did I? And again, the guilt and the shame comes up, and you're like, why would I ever put myself in a position to where they would think otherwise?
Yeah.
And it's just the fact of that ugly disease got a grip of us, man. And thank God we're here today to talk about. I already know I got a daughter, bro. I'm gonna be a mess when she gets married. Like I'm gonna need like a whole case of Kleenexes.
Yeah.
He's got 3.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah,
it's
it's gotta
horrible.
be. How do you handle situations where others around you may be drinking or using substances? Does that ever feel like a challenge?
No, I've left jobs. Okay, so I opened up a hotel when I got sober. I've opened up 3 in town so far, but this one, when I went to my recovery, they took me back, and they're like, "Don't fuck us. We really want you here. We want you to do your best." And I was just trucking along, but my GM was an alcoholic, and I had to remove myself from that job. I had to leave.
Wanted you to take.
Yeah, I mean,
partake with
he would walk
everyone?
in. He would walk into the kitchen drunk,
Oh.
and I could smell it on him,
Yeah.
or doing something. And I was like, I can't do this.
Oh,
And I left that
Pull myself
job,
out of
and
this.
I felt so bad for the company that I worked for because they gave me an opportunity to come back, and but I didn't tell them
Yeah.
why I left. I just had to get the hell out because you see things differently. When it didn't bother me before,
Yeah.
you know, but after I sobered up, I'm like, you got to change people, places, and things.
Yeah.
And that was one thing and I love this guy to death, and we're still friends to this day. And I would wish he would kick his addiction, but we have to do it on our own.
Yeah.
You know, and I've even hidden. I've seen him at the store, and he comes out. It's 8:30 in the morning, and he's got 2 cases of beer. And I was like, fuck. I
Yeah.
dug down in my car. I'm like, I don't want to deal with this right now.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. I was like, but my door's always open. My phone's on. If you want to call me. But I've had to remove myself from places like that because it's not healthy for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that I would do it, but why put myself through that? You know, because there goes the resentments again. There goes all those emotions that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
You know.
If you can remove yourself from the whole equation, then that's just the best thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, not even try to fight the temptation. If the temptation's out there, even better.
Yep.
You know, because we're weak.
Yep.
We are.
Yep. And now I have.
wonder if that comes as the years pass, like where it just doesn't bother you.
It doesn't now. And now I still work at a hotel. There's alcohol in the bar. I walk up there every day to get me my espresso. I walk right by the bottles,
Yep.
but I know that's not for me. And I preach it. I tell everybody.
That's awesome,
I
man.
say, hey, I'm an alcoholic. Don't ever offer me a drink.
Good.
But I mean, more power to you. I said,
Yeah.
I'm not. I break out in binges, all nighters, you know,
Yeah, I'm not
everything.
just-
Yeah.
I'm not a taster.
Yeah, I can't do it. So they're very respectful of that.
That's good.
I don't let anybody drink in my kitchen, and it's a hard work because in the restaurant business, we're rapid with drugs and alcohol. Everybody's on something. You know, I remember the other job I had. Everybody'd be looking for one of the guys. It's like on payday. Is homeboy here? Is homeboy here? It's like he's not here yet, but when he shows up, take it outside. So he'd have a line outside, and everybody was giving him the money, and they all had their vice, you know. And I was there too. I hid my shit in the freezer, and I
And
used
then
to,
back to work.
yeah, and then back to work. So I get it. I mean, I was part of that sickness, and removing myself from all that it was hard at first, but now it's real easy, and I try to put a safe place for my employees to work at and say, hey, I can come in here and I don't have to worry about the bullshit with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Whatever they do away from work is none of my business. I tell them all the time, I don't give a fuck what you do. Away from work, that is your life. But while you're here, let's practice. This is what we're going to practice. A safe workplace for everybody. And I mean, it helps me through the day.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Let me pull out one of each. What have you learned about yourself since becoming sober that you didn't know before?
Oh, man, so much. That I have patience.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You know, it's that it's okay to not be okay. You know, that there are days that I'm just not gonna feel it. You know, but that doesn't mean that I have to go take a drink.
Yeah.
And you know, it's being the most honest with myself is great, because at first I hated being alone with myself. I couldn't be by myself. I had anxiety, now I'll be back. I'm gonna go have a taco. I'll go sit by myself, and I enjoy being with myself more than anything, without anybody, or just the peace that I actually like who I am.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, before it was like I don't like myself.
You need company
Yeah.
to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone who's just starting their sobriety journey?
That's hard. Don't be so rough on yourself, you know. You're human. We make mistakes. You know, we're not perfect. Just be honest. And they say it all the time. They say it 3 to 4 times in the AA. I have to be honest with myself. They say it three to 4 different times when we start a meeting every time. And yeah, just don't be hard on yourself, man. You know, live life on life's terms, and no matter what, you can do it. I mean, if you just live one day at a time, that's all. Just today, just be sober today.
Yeah.
That's all it needs. Even if it's gonna have to be sober for the next 5 minutes, you know, just to make it through. It'll become easier.
Last one. If you could go back and give your past self one piece of advice during your active addiction, what would it be?
No seas pendejo. Oh man, because okay, well, and this is, everybody's got their own. Okay, so I grew up on the border in a little town called Far, and on Far, it's further down. We lived further down in the subdivision called Las Milpas, and we were 10 minutes from the border. So my drinking started when I was 16, 17 years old. That's how long I've been drinking. And we were going to Mexico for $20 at night, and we would drink till 6 in the morning in the club.
At 16.
At 16, 3 times a week. Sometimes
Wow.
Friday, Saturday, sometimes on Sunday. And so this to me became normal. This was a normal thing for me.
Yeah.
So I've been drinking a long freaking time. So I had been masking my emotions since I was 16 years old. So I was fucked up when I came to recovery, because I had been no emotions. I didn't know how to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still on a
And
roller
that's
coaster.
an important age to
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
trying to put
Yeah.
a grip on them.
So sometimes I try not to beat myself up too much, because I'll cry for anything. Bien llorón. I can be watching a movie and I'm like, oh my God, why am I so emotional? You know, or
Why you hit me?
I'm so glad you feel stuff now. I'm like, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
yeah. And it's just the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like at work, I don't shut up. I'm dancing, I'm singing, and I'm like a roller coaster. If I'm like really high on my emotions, you can't shut me up. And then sometimes I'm like, you
Like
know,
sadness.
yeah, sad, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But learning, and those, believe it or not, those have helped me out tremendously. Watching stuff like that, because I'm
It's a
like, see,
great
I'm normal.
movie.
It is.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm normal. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay not to be okay.
I have anxiety. Oh my God. Fear.
Yeah.
Yes, all of it, man.
Yeah.
They did well with that. They hit it on.
Yeah, and if somebody tells you that they got all their shit together,
They're lying.
they're fucking lying.
Call
and
their
and
bullshit.
if they do, more power to you. I'm great, but
Yeah.
when you slip, I'm gonna be, hey, what's up? Get your ass up, bro. Nobody,
I got all my shit.
yeah, nobody's perfect, man, and I love that. Those are the most realist fucking people to be around. Is, you know, because they're gonna tell you how it is, and even if it's not good, they're gonna tell you if it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah,
Yeah.
realist.
That's awesome, man. Well, I think it's really cool that. So just kind of recapping, you've been in your career. You've been around. You've been in this environment where alcohol is present every day, drugs are right there. You know, whatever you want is right there. So they were so close to you, and you were able to grab a hold of that and become addicted and become an alcoholic. So what I think is really cool is that you flipped the script, bro. Like, you're like, this is my career. I'm not gonna lose my career. I'm gonna lose my addiction and my alcoholism and remove that from my career and still be a badass chef that I've been called to be. So, and you set those standards with your crew now. You're like, look, I'm an alcoholic. Don't offer me a drink. There's no drinking in my kitchen. Whatever you do outside of work, that's on you. So, like, to create those standards where before you're
Not just that, those boundaries.
hey, let's do it
Yeah.
together. Now
Yeah.
there's those boundaries, and you're like, you're thriving in this community, man. I just think it's freaking awesome.
We look up to you. We love you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're so
I feel
proud of you.
I feel the same for the both of you. I'm very proud for you, and I think you guys are great, man.
Well, we're excited, man. We appreciate it. So that's going to wrap up our podcast. I want to, again, thank Chef Antonio for being on. I want to give a shout out to Chuck Colbert. He has a shop down here in downtown Lubbock. It's 1220 Broadway.
Yes.
1220 Broadway. There's a store. Come down here and see him. It is in the old NTS building. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Really cool shop. We're going to also put Chef's socials at the bottom. You'll be able to follow him. He does a lot of good stuff in the community. He does a lot of catering and stuff like that. And so you'll be able to find him when we drop this. And so, any last words you want to say, man?
No, just love yourself, love God, and love your family.
Right on. Bags and bottles. Y'all be good. Stay sober.